Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, and today we have a Meet the Chamber Champion episode, and I'm very excited to have with me Katie Murphy. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Gosh, how long have we been working together now?
At least 5 years.
Yeah, I was thinking we've hit the 5-year mark. So I'm in my era of, I've been here 15 years, so I have kind of like a first, second, and third fives. So I was like, Katie's been here longer than the last, because it was kind of like COVID, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I moved up here in October 2020, so
Yes. Okay.
right in the thick of it.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily and who you're with and sort of all the exciting things that are happening.
Sure. So I am the Vice President of Sales for the News and Record, which in the Rockingham Now, which is a part of the North Carolina Community Group or North Carolina Media Group. We are a full service multimedia digital agency that also still owns local newspapers and are rooted in local community. So what's exciting about that is we're able to provide digital services that a full-scale agency provides, but we also understand the local market, local seasonality for businesses. And so it makes it really exciting that we can offer any type of solution beyond just our newspaper print subscribers, our websites, our newsletters, social media, in terms of communicating to the public what's happening. But from a marketing perspective, lots of different types of solutions to ultimately help a business find their target audience.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get into that a little bit more. And I know we've offered some things in the past for the chamber members, and I know we're talking about trying to figure out something again for the future. But I was literally on my way in this morning on the phone with a local business who was sort of rooted in a lot of AI work just by default. He is in computers and cameras and phones, and we were just talking about like how quickly, and then I had a photographer that I've worked with, you guys have worked with, that was in my office this week, and she was just talking about like overnight how much AI is changing the landscape of photography. And so it's affecting everybody, whether you use it, you don't use it, or you think you're not using it, from your phone that's in your hand all the time to our TVs and our computers and just, everything. Like, I don't know if people notice, some people notice heavily. Other people like me who are really busy don't think about it until I stop and I go, oh yeah, I just use that predictor text, like in responding to somebody, or I just use that. I'm not going to lie. I love the auto replies and emails. Like a lot of times if I just need to say, thanks, I got it. Like it's so good to now just be able to like, oh, click send, and it's gone. And then it's made me more personal, more professional, because it helps me do the hard stuff quickly, or it makes it easier and quicker to do tasks. So like, I love it from that perspective. But I think it has to be overwhelming to the business owners. How do we figure out, like, how can Katie help me? How can Katie help my business? How can the News and Record, or how can the North Carolina, digital, but how can they help me?
Yeah.
And I just think it's probably a lot to think about. So you guys get to do a lot of fun stuff in that realm. So tell us, give us some examples. Like, how does that work for some of our local businesses?
Well, I think it is a really great point you made about how people are using AI in their everyday life, how to help you be more efficient in, running your business or whatever your deliverables are. Whether it's, helping you be faster with communication, interpreting communications, scheduling appointments or consults, whatever it is that applies to the business, leaning into AI and leveraging it is just so critical now and will just continue to be in the future. So one way that we're seeing businesses leverage AI is, you kind of mentioned it, in appointment scheduling. It's important that, if you use something like we offer an AI agent, it allows no call to be missed. You can answer 100 calls simultaneously if that were to happen. And they're hooked up to like an automatic scheduler if you have that as a part of your business. It's sending nurturing communications like email, confirmation texts, getting basic information to help you book appointments automatically. and then allows you, because you've captured that information, to continue nurturing that client after you've maybe done that service. If you have special offers through an email marketing drip campaign or text message campaign, to keep that communication and build that loyalty and ongoing trust. So there's tools out there that we now offer to businesses because we know how important it is to be able to make sure that communication is happening in an efficient way for the business owner, especially if you have business owners where so many people are wearing a lot of hats. Where can you find the time to get back for these individuals to do different types of work that are maybe better suited for their skill set, where AI can help with maybe more of the administrative or more mundane tasks. So it just helps the organization be more efficient if you can use tools like that, tie them into a CRM. Our tool, the AI agent tool, provides a CRM, it provides a website, it all talks to each other. And so it's kind of being a business partner to the next level, not just from the marketing sense of what we can do with AI and how AI aids in marketing and marketing interpretation of results and success, but actually helping with execution of the business.
And for folks who maybe don't know what all those things mean, what I would say is you can break it down with them on a personal relationship. But a lot of people do know, like if they deal with CRMs, they know what that means, right? Mm-hmm. And like if they're dealing with some of the things like the schedulers and that kind of stuff. And so it's funny because as the chamber, it's like we're supposed to know a little bit about all of those things because we're trying to help our membership be better, do better, find ways to be more successful, right? And so like all of those things that you were talking about, like it was running through my mind. Oh, hey, I know a plumber, like that would work for their business. Or I know a small business who is in service that like they sell products, but they also do services. And so as you like, people were flashing through my mind of like, I wonder how they're doing that. Are they using that kind of thing? So it's just this huge world of opportunity. And I think we're seeing for our generation, like I remember being in high school and having dial-up internet and having projects and like the whole like AOL and AIM. And I remember doing a world history project and we were doing research, and that was in that transition from encyclopedias and books in the library to like the World Wide Web and having the internet and being able to search. And like we saw, middle school, high school, college, like that's when Facebook came about. So like that's when they started tying social media to having a university or college email address. And like there were all these things that started happening. And it's funny, I look back at my kids and I'm like, they literally carry around Chromebooks that everything's at their fingertips. And so when I think about trying to be a business owner and then or trying to be, even a parent, like in these times, like I feel like we're in an age with AI that our parents were with us when the internet became a thing, because there's so much possibility and it's almost more than you can like fathom. I'll give you an example. My son was talking to me on the way to school this morning. He's like, Mom, we're learning about the solar system and we're learning about the dwarf planets. And like, that was not a thing when we were growing up. Like you have the 9 planets in the solar system. It ended at Pluto. And it ended at Pluto. And they're like, well, now Pluto's a dwarf planet. And then there's another dwarf planet. Luckily for him, I was on a field trip with his older sister at the planetarium a few weeks ago. So I had learned all these things. And he was talking about it. And I was like, when we were younger, like trying to imagine the solar system and like they had several pictures or models or whatever, but like it just seemed like this, and then like you thought that was what we knew was what we knew, and it was done. And now we're finding out that, there's more moons and planets and things and all the stuff. So for me, it's like there's this progression, and now it's like, what's going to happen for our kids, right? What's going to be the thing for their generation? And for business, I think it's crucial that we start having these conversations because we're losing generational businesses when the kids are pivoting. We were using that word, like the whole pivot, like what's the thing? And I think you've got these generational businesses that we're losing, like services and trades and things that we're losing because the older generation's not embracing the AI and the technology and all the things that are happening. And meanwhile, the younger generation's like, you're a plumber and your hands get dirty and I don't want to do that. Or you're an electrician and I don't want to, you know what I mean? But we're seeing this shift coming back in the trade, like where we've
Yes.
built this workforce development center at RCC, and you can go in there and there's the Haas training lab and you can see the machines at work. And so we're kind of spinning back to that. So it's like, how do we see digital marketing? How do we see all the things that are happening, like coming together? Like, how do we help our businesses be on the level of where young people, where they can attract and retain employees, where they can reach their customers, where they're not losing their customers, because customers want it to be easy. They want to be able to text and schedule. They don't want to answer a phone call. They don't want to talk to people. Like, and that's where y'all come in. Like, those are the things that you can do to help people be on that level and kind of take it a little more exponential for their business.
Yeah, well, I think what you're alluding to is just like the possibilities are infinite.
Yes,
Just like the universe,
absolutely.
right? And so how do you tackle this as a business owner and maybe you have a legacy business or even a new business in a way that again you're able to make changes and adapt as technology is so rapidly changing. If you talk to any of the CEOs of these major companies, if it's Amazon, Apple, Facebook, NVIDIA, that's powering all of these AI tools, right? What's going to happen next? They can't even tell you what's going to happen in a couple months from now because it's so rapidly changing. So then take that and then try to apply it to a business owner trying to decide what they need to do with all of this is completely overwhelming. I think that's where having a good partner that can be somewhat of the expert in that space is really important because there's just so much to keep up with. I mentioned the AI agent tool earlier. That's something that we've decided that we have to make sure that is available for our customers because some don't have a solution otherwise for something like that. So I think it's just continuing to be nimble. Audiences are getting more savvy, with how they're determining what type of services, what type of products that they want to be using. How are they spending their time? Are they on social media? Are they looking at connected TV or streaming TV? Or are they listening to podcasts? Where is the audience spending their time? And how are they making decisions about, they only have so much time in the day. You as a business owner, you've got to be in front of them at the right time. So how do you determine that? Technology and AI and all of the learning that goes into these digital marketing models because, okay, this person listened to this podcast 5 minutes longer than this other person. We know we can determine that they're more interested in these types of things. Now we know to target messaging to them for businesses, products, or services that maybe cater more closely to them. I think there was a really great documentary on Netflix several years ago. I think it came out at the beginning of the pandemic, maybe even earlier, about how, Facebook, because of everything that you're looking at, how much time you spend even just hovering over a specific amount of content, they have thousands of different data points on any given individual and probably know you better than maybe even your spouse knows you because of that. But now apply that to all of the other different types of, media that's out there. They can pretty closely pinpoint a person, what they're interested in, what they're looking for. And so when you're talking about things like even digital marketing, now there's the technology utilizing different types of tools, some of these different kind of learning against algorithms to target the right individual. And then you bring in something like AI, and it just gets even stronger and more accurate. And then there's also the opportunity to use AI to help interpret all of that data and kind of cipher it down into something that is usable. So if I am a business owner, use like a plumbing example for plumber as an example, and I'm looking for someone that's looking for plumbing services. Now with some of these different kind of pieces of data that you're able to incorporate in making your marketing decisions, you can find and target that right audience that is either, actively looking for plumbing, right? They're in the consideration stage, or maybe they just need to generally be aware that you're an option. Or maybe it's as specific as something broke, I need to call someone now. What are the different types of kind of marketing and media that makes sense to get in front of that person in that kind of piece of the sales funnel? But back to AI, I think AI just helps everyone get just stronger and stronger in getting answers faster. And so for a business owner, it's really important to make sure that you're found when folks need those quick answers. Last thing I'll kind of say about that too is probably most everyone that uses a search engine like Google has seen something like the AI overview. Now, even in the last few months, we're looking at a lot of data of, okay, for people that are doing active, paid search campaigns on something like Google, how is that traffic to those paid search ads, which is Google's bread and butter, changing because people aren't scrolling past the AI overview. They're getting some of their information from that and then moving on. If you're a business owner, now you've got to make sure, okay, what am I doing with my website to make sure I can be more easily found when people are doing those types of searches? And this has all just popped up in, again, like the last, over 2025, and being really important in us seeing those kind of changes in the trends of how people are searching online. So all of this to say, to kind of answer your original question is, how does a business either incorporate this into their business to make themselves more efficient, how they use it to market, to their target audiences. There's so many different pieces to it, but it can ultimately make you be kind of more efficient with your, either investment into your business and your systems and how things are set up, or make you more efficient with your marketing investment.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack right there.
It was.
You just made me think. Well, so first of all, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, later today, how often is my phone gonna pop up with plumbing ads and things and telling me?
Yeah, because we
had a whole conversation about plumbing. I was just sitting here thinking that. But what I really took out of what you said was the word partner and the word forecast stuck out to me, because in all of that you said, you're not wrong. I'm sitting here thinking about how with my own, like my teenager who's now at the early college and the things that she's doing. And when I give her a directive, like we were riding down the road and I said, look this up, I need to know something. And she, who is now also on social media, she actually Googled it when I think most kids probably would have looked for it in social media first. Because I was just sitting here thinking, how many people search in Facebook, for example, or Instagram for something before they search in Google? And if they search in Google, they're getting that AI overview. And so like all the things that you were saying made me think, how in the world can a business forecast for January of 2026 for the year, if they've been forecasting in November, December, January for the year, for that kind of change that, say, happened in 2025, and you're right, like for them to be thinking about, okay, are my paid Google ads still making a difference? So it all goes back to why you need a partner and a trusted partner to help say, hey, guys, don't know if you're paying attention, but on trend right now, this is what's happening. So we probably need to divert what you've been doing and change it up and go this direction.
And there's things that business owners can do, themselves too.
Sure.
It helps to work with someone just to kind of check, does this make sense? Could this be doing more than it is? But, it's as simple as for business owners, like making sure you have GA4, which is, used to be referred to as Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, set up so that you can look, at your website and the back end of your website and try to find out what are your best traffic sources, what kind of key, setting up key events so that you have an idea of, what is in terms of my media is driving actual conversions, like phone calls or form fills versus someone maybe just looking at the website and abandoning it. So, there's different tools that, again, from an analytics perspective, which in the marketing side, AI has been a big help with, again, helping decipher that information, making better decisions that business owners can look at. That is for free to start kind of getting some of that at least baseline, information about the activities that are happening that are leading to, again, at the end of the day, phone calls, form fills, or, if it's e-commerce, purchases online, whatever it might be. So there's things that business owners can do now, but it certainly does make a difference to work with a partner to kind of help distill some of that information so then you can kind of get back to your day job.
Yes, because day job is providing the service or doing the thing that your business is meant to do and not all these other things. And that's what I was sitting here thinking about. I was like, it's no wonder we made the joke about like coming back from the new year and how everybody's hair is on fire and how, we are all like, eyes are like saucers. Like, it's like drinking from a water hose right now, right? Like it's more like a fire hose instead of a water hose. It's crazy. But at the same time, like I think about, okay, how do we think about the people we serve, your clients, our members? How do we think about how to help them? Because we're in the same situation. Like I'm over here trying to get all the things ready for 2026 for all the things we're going to do for the membership. And how do we get back to doing that instead of being work? Because we have to do both sides too, right? Like we have to know what's best for our website and our CRM and all the things we're doing. We were having a conversation before we came on camera about some things that may change for us. And we're looking at, is this the most effective use of our time and our resources at this point? Because things change and you have to be able to keep up with that. So I think that it's really important for people to slow down and take a breath and say, okay, like what is most important? What are my top 3 goals? Like what am I trying to get accomplished? And who is out there that can help me accomplish these? And then maybe I can have top 5 goals because somebody else is handling the first 2 because they're related to content or whatever it is, like the agent or something. They might have heard that and said, oh my gosh, like we need that. So I cannot believe this, but like we have been having so much fun. We're going to run out of time soon. So I wanted to backpedal and say we just kind of went with some of the things that we were talking about. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to talk about today that we haven't yet, or we'll run out of time because we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left?
Oh man. We talked about a lot. Wow. Yeah. More than I was expecting. I think that, going into 2026, our team is big on, and I'm personally big on taking tactical pauses to kind of assess what's happening, what's worked well, what were our plans, how did we execute them, what should they look like going into the new year, and really taking a hard look at, what's working, what's not working, evaluating and making decisions, and then prioritizing and what those goals should be. This time of year is, and really all throughout the year, we're evaluating the campaigns that we're working on. Maybe we were doing like 6 different solutions. Well, which one really drove the best result? Which one maybe didn't do as much as we needed it to, or it was difficult to determine. So we need to pivot to a solution in terms of marketing that is more measurable because of what our goals are. And so evaluating, all of those things for any business owner, this is a great time of year to do that. Get a second look on if you have active campaigns, how they're performing, getting an audit. Is my website doing as much as it needs to do from a search engine optimization perspective, given all of these changes with AI, doing a really thorough audit or having someone, most companies like ourselves, they'll come in and do audits, for free and just help you identify, hey, if we, were to help you, this is kind of where we start and how we would attack this. And then it's the decision of the business owner of, this makes sense for this year, or I need to revisit this in 90 days or whatever the case is. So my, I guess, PSA for this time of year is it's a great opportunity to slow down so you can go fast by, making those kind of critical judgments so you can have, the most successful year ever.
I love that. Slow down so you can go fast. That's my new, and if you're not first, you're last, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Slow down so you can go fast. Yeah, it makes total sense because I think people get wrapped up in the minutia of like the daily task, right? And the weekly task and what the next deadline is. And they're not thinking about, okay, let's pause and just take a breath. Like, did that really work that well for us last year? And are we spending a lot of time spinning our wheels on things that are not as effective in producing the results that we want? So,
Mm-hmm.
how do we back up and try to figure out, or maybe not back up, just pause and figure out how do we move forward best for our company, for our organization? We range from anywhere from one person or really zero people. A lot of times, some of our members are organizations that have volunteer boards or volunteer positions, all the way up to our industries and our school system and people who have the largest number of employees in our community. But most of our people ride in the like 2 to 10 category, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they are trying to do a whole lot more with a whole lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And how can they make the most effective decisions for that small crew that they have that are producing these mass amounts of either service or products or whatever it is that they're doing? So I do think that a lot of times a partner or provider is a more cost effective way, instead of having a person or paying a person to do those things. Having a partner and having a contract and a relationship is probably a smarter way for small business to go. So I think that's really a great thing that I have seen you all be able to do. Like you said, still being able to have the small town like touch and understand the small town, the local market.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys years ago were in the transition to the digital, and doing click impressions and things like, many, many years ago. So I've seen y'all move through and be able to keep up with the things that are happening, which is awesome. So we need to tell people how to find you, how to get in touch with you if they were be interested in having you guys as a partner to help them through some of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. You can, reach out to me directly, Katie Murphy at the North Carolina Media Group, email address kmurphy@ncmediagroup.com. But we have a really talented group of individuals that would love to help. And I love that you made the point about, when we talk to businesses, there is no one that understands better about all of the changes and looking maybe different in the future than you did in the past than an organization that's been around for over 150 years. We've had to make those changes and pivots and
Mm-hmm.
adopt, new technology and focuses. And we love the opportunity to help businesses make those transitions.
Yep. We're a couple of great ones together. We've been around, like, we're
Yes.
going on 120 years. And I think back about the original letter, the original group that got together that said, we need a chamber of commerce because they had Main Street and they had these businesses. And, that's when chambers were becoming a thing. And it was kind of coming down from the U.S. Chamber. And they were like, Reidsville needs a chamber of commerce. And I imagine that those men would just be like, what in the world is happening right now if they were to see what a chamber actually is and does. And chambers
Mm-hmm.
are different, right? You've seen one, like, because they're all different. They all have their own board and
Mm-hmm.
leaders and tax ID numbers, and we're different, but we're similar, right? And so I think there's just a lot of really cool things that happen when you get the right chamber and the right partners together. And we've just been really fortunate. You guys help us produce our monthly newsletter, that's still in the paper that people can still pick up and touch and feel, which is amazing. And there's just so many other ways from our directory and, just also keeping a pulse on what's going on. So I'm thankful sometimes just to sit down with you or Will and just hear about all the stuff going on because quite frankly, I learned a lot today because it's been a little bit since we've sat down for 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes or more just to hear all the stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited about 2026. I think you were the perfect person to come on and talk about like what's happening in the future and where we are. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. We respect and enjoy our partnership so much. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's it for today's news and views. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street and on all of our socials and on our website, www.reidsvillechamber.org. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.